Rarran, welcome. You're here. You're here with me for this show. You don't know what we're doing.
No idea.
You don't know what's happening. Well, what's happening is an episode of the CovertGoPodcast, which is sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com. Use promo code CGBPod if you are enjoying having this on your audio platforms like Spotify and Apple and iHeartRadio. And yeah, you see that? I've gotten so proper. Did you know you're on the audio airwaves, dude?
I didn't realize you're this big. Holy God. Wow,
I don't know if it. I'm pretty sure a kid in their basement can have a podcast on these platforms. I'm too old and stupid and had to hire somebody to make this happen. But I did the thing, and so here we are. And we are here to talk about new cards. I know, for Dragonstorm Tarkir, which is the new set that is coming out in Magic the Gathering in about like a week from now, I think is proper launch, something like that. Okay. So are you ready to rate some new cards and some dragons?
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, sorry. I was, when you said podcast, I thought we were going to yap about something. I didn't realize we're doing card rating. So
yeah,
I'm locked in.
We're going to read the card to the audio people and then tell us their thoughts. They don't need to see our faces to know like how this is going. It's fine, but they would. It's also on YouTube. Hi, True. YouTube. Look at, I guess they're missing out on your handsome appeal on the audio.
Oh, wait, my cat.
They're missing out on the cat.
He's not here. It's fine. They actually picked the best episode not to watch. The true content.
We had an agreement about the cat being in every show.
Man. What do you want me to do? Go grab him? I feel bad.
Yes. Wake him up. Make some noise. We are uniquely qualified to rate cards. You especially. You are basically undefeated at rating Magic the Gathering cards that are new. For example, the card that we thought was the best card in the last set, the Aether Spark, is virtually unplayable in Standard.
Oh. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's sad.
You got me so confident when you said that. I was like, yes.
No, it's like unplayably bad. No one can play. But to our credit, nothing in Aether Drift is playable.
Is it just horrible?
There's a few uncommons. I don't think we even looked at them. There were some uncommons that staple some decks together. I might show them to you in a video, and we'll like go back and try to find the good card from Aether Drift. It could be a fun video of its own. But we are going to Tarkir, where the cons and 3-color decks rule and dragons are a big deal. And there are throwbacks to some very classic, popular Magic formats. And we're going to cover some cards. You ready? You ready for your first card?
I'm excited. Okay. Dragon set? Right. That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah, but our first card's not dragon.
Okay.
And still might be one of the most hype cards.
Okay. It's our first card's not a dragon. Shows me a rhino. Okay.
It's a rhino.
So just remember, you said this is coming out soon, so I'm rating these cards preemptively. Like you have no idea if they're going to be good or not. Okay. Skirmish Rhino, 1 white, 1 black, 1 green. It's a creature. Obviously, it's a rhino. It has trample. Do all rhinos have trample? I feel like that's a common thing where it's like these type of beasts always have it. Maybe I'm just like
the rhinos I know that get played have trample.
Okay, that makes sense. When this creature enters, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Is it 3/4? Okay. Remind me, what's a base stat line for like a 3-drop in Magic? Is a 3/4 good?
Oh God, that's a great question right now. I mean, honestly, yeah, a 3-mana 3/4 is not unusual. I'm thinking of Sentinel of the Nameless City sees play. So yeah, that's a 3-mana 3/4.
Okay, 3-mana 3/4 in Hearthstone is like fine now. It used to be really good just as like a vanilla minion. Now it depends on the effect, obviously. Okay, so in other words, we can see this as when this enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and you deal 2 damage to each opponent. We're comparing this in Standard, I'm imagining, so that's actually a pretty good swing right there. And it has trample. How good is a white, black, green deck though? That's the real question. See, like that's probably the bigger question. Like, can you even build a deck around this? Or
let's do this, because with cons, like Tarkir is built around these 3-color cons.
Oh,
so they are. If this set is going to be successful at all, these specific 3-color decks will be playable.
Oh, that is a very scary premise. So you're saying if like they're not playable, it's just over? Is this card beating mono red?
Is this card beating mono red? No. Dude, I played so right now in standard, you can play a 3-mana 6/6 in green, and it's a dinosaur. Okay. All right. It has a downside. When it attacks, it doesn't untap the next turn unless you control another dinosaur. But like as a blocker, you can play a 3-mana 6/6. I had a game against mono red where I played this on turn 2 because I ramped into it, a druid, hello. And then the next turn I played another one, and the mono red deck just trampled over both of them. Like nothing.
All right, so
like, absolutely
based on
nothing.
that logic, this is unplayable. There's no way. There's no.
It's going to be hard to compare everything to mono red's good draws. There are rumors of a ban coming. In fact, this might come out on the same day that a ban takes place. There are rumors that Monstrous Rage, the red combat trick that makes basically combat non-existent in the format because it's so good, will be banned. And it's based on the fact that if you right now try to craft or buy something that has Monstrous Rage in it in the store, a little window pops up that says this card is banned in standard, even though right now it's not. So it's kind of a leak. Seems like a leak. Let
me double check this. Target creature gets +2 until the end of turn. It's an instant, create a monster roll token attached to it. Create another roll on it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Part of the buff is permanent, and it provides permanent trample, which means they can just keep, if they have a creature, they can just keep making bigger and bigger. Monstrous Rage means you just can never take it on with size. You have to take it on with spells, and green doesn't traditionally have those spells.
So that means that this set is like completely contingent whether or not they ban this card. Because
I mean, at least Skirmish Rhino. Here's the reason I showed you Skirmish Rhino, because back when Cons of Tarkir was popular, our last visit to Tarkir's Magic players in 2014, this was the big bad card.
Okay.
This one. Siege freaking Rhino. That guy.
Oh.
Have I shown you this card?
Listen, we have done.
Yes, probably.
So many videos that you could. I've actually, by the way, I've been legitimately thinking about doing this. Is going back to our very first video, showing you card for card and see if you can get it right.
I'm gonna start prepping right now. I'm gonna go watch that video tomorrow. There's no way I'm gonna put myself through that particular humiliation. I just can't do it. That would be terrible. That would be absolutely evil of you.
Okay. I think it'd be a great video. Please don't study on it, by the way. I think it'd be great. Siege Rhino, 1 neutral, 1 white, 1 black, 1 green. Obviously another Rhino. It has trample. When Siege Rhino enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. And it's a 4/5. 4 mana 4/5 with trample. Yo, it's a better Yeti. But unfortunately, it does 3. Okay. And sorry, what year did this come out in? 2014?
Yeah, it's busted. God. Yeti, that's busted.
You know what, dude? What the hell? That is the same year Hearthstone got released.
Dude, Yeti. Yeti stole the stat line of Rhino.
Oh, wait.
They power crept it.
I think it's reversed. What year did this come out? Because I think Hearthstone came out like February.
I mean, it came out in September of 2014, I believe. They'll double check me on that. But off the top of my head, that's what my brain says. Okay. So here's how powerful Siege Rhino was. Siege Rhino was an absolute meme of people just jamming Siege Rhinos at each other. Like, look at this meme. Look at this coverage. For the audio listeners, I just showed the Siege Rhino meme where it's like everything on the board is a Siege Rhino, everything on top of the deck is a Siege Rhino, everything in the graveyard is a Siege Rhino.
That is fantastic. That is peak Magic the Gathering. So you're telling me in almost like 11 years later, it's the same card, except for it's obviously -1 life for gain and the opponent loses. But it's a 3/4, it's 1 less mana. I mean, it's probably unplayable, I'm going to be honest. Like,
probably.
This is...
They even down-rared it to uncommon. Like, they know. They know what they've done to our precious cards. It's so sad.
It's nostalgia bait, dude. 100%, right?
Yeah, pure nostalgia bait. And we started with that just to kind of set the tone for what a Magic set is in 2025. But don't worry. I'm going to show Rarran some powerful stuff.
Are you? You got me so concerned after the last one, then.
Check out this. Yeah, check out this card.
Okay. Is that a dragon? God, that guy
Is that a dragon?
That guy looks crazy. What's his name? Eugen?
Eugen.
Eugene? That there's no way that's Eugene. There's no shot.
Are you sure?
Eugene?
It's Eugen.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Okay, Eugen?
Eugen.
That sounds like a caveman would say before like before they had like language. Eye of the Storm.
Yes, me lord.
This is a sick looking card though. I'm gonna tell you what. 7 mana, neutral. It's a planeswalker. It has 7 loyalty. When you cast this spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. When you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. 7 mana to just exile a card.
So far.
And then you can cast colorless spells. Okay, that's kind of interesting. +2 to gain 3 life and draw a card. +0 to add 3 neutral mana. Or what kind of mana is that again? Omega mana? Alpha? What is it?
Neutral's fine. Colorless. Yeah.
Colorless,
neutral.
okay.
Colorless. Sure.
-11. Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards. Exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards. Holy shit. So if your whole deck... Sorry for swearing. I don't know if that's allowed on the podcast.
I think we can handle it.
Okay. my apologies. And someone's like, oh.
Yeah, so sorry. Your ears, your poor ears.
Does that mean if you have only colorless non-land cards in your deck, you could just get every single one and play everything? That's kind of sick.
And they're cast triggers, which means if Ugin's still around, or if you get another Ugin, you're exiling colored stuff every time you cast.
I mean, this seems to be the case.
That's pretty crazy.
It is. I mean, this is just you win the game probably, right? You've shown me like planeswalkers that have the same kind of effect. The problem is like -11. So you need to do +2 2 times, and then it has to live an additional turn, and it doesn't have to take any damage, or it can't take any damage. I mean, we're definitely in Disneyland, but God, if you're in Disneyland when you proc this, like it is, you have Genie Plus, you're going on every ride.
What's referred to as the Planeswalker Ultimate, like the big minus, the minus that's like 10 loyalty or more, is often considered Disneyland. Like they always tell you don't rate it on this because it never happens.
So you're playing this card pretty much for like I'm gonna call it the passive, because like you're probably just wanting to exile stuff on the board for just playing colorless spells. And I'm assuming there's probably a decent amount of cards that you can work with this to basically wipe your opponent's board in 1 turn. I'm hoping. Because you just do like the 0, you get additional mana. I mean, if this was a Hearthstone card and it said like whenever you cast a spell, you remove a random minion on your opponent's board, and it was 7 mana, did the exact same thing, like this would be pretty good, depending on what class it would be for. The problem is, are you getting to 7 mana that quickly, or quickly enough, I should say, for you not to die?
In standard, that's challenging. I mean, we'll use the Hearthstone philosophy of Druid. We'll play a green deck, right? And maybe we're casting this on turn 5, turn 4 with a really good draw. And maybe you have a chance. It's man, I think a lot of the excitement for Ugin is in Commander and older formats where a lot of colorless spells actually literally cost 0. You can play them for free.
I am starting to think that your game is more whack than Hearthstone. Like,
yeah,
I like listen. There's a lot of nonsense in Hearthstone. We'll get to that later when we record my video. But like at least Hearthstone, I feel like you have a fair shot to go against aggro. Like this game is like, if they just draw decently well, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the mouse package. It from Bloomborough have just like destroyed every kind of thing. I guess there are good ramp decks still, but they basically use mana cheating, and there's a busted card named Atraxa, which I think I've shown you in a previous video that's legal in standard right now. That's even been cut from the ramp decks. That's a 7 mana card that is like 7/7, flying, death touch, lifelink, all these abilities, and draws you like 4 to 6 cards when it enters. Wow. That card doesn't see play anymore.
That's considered
too
greedy.
slow.
Yeah.
That too slow. Yeah. So like what replaced it in the ramp decks are basically other forms of mana cheating, where they're casting like their 5 mana and 7 mana cards for 3 and 4 mana because they came with some special impending cost. So it's like, well, like Ugin would go in that deck a year ago, the domain ramp deck that exists in standard. It won't go in it now because they just never have 7 mana. Like the game is over when they tap 5 mana to end the game. To use Zur to stabilize. Yeah, it's crazy.
See, that's pretty mental. Is Bloomer really that bad? And I guess
the mice are. It's a curve that is, when unanswered, like you're so dead, and there's very little to do about it. So yeah, everybody has to focus on answering things in the very early turns. Now, historically in Magic the Gathering, when there is too much focus on the early turns and every deck is focused on removing small creatures, decks that go over the top and play big spells can prey on the decks that run removal for the small creatures, and that's where a card like Ugin can shine. So I don't think that this is never going to see play. I think this is really powerful for a 7 mana card, like really powerful. And there are probably places where it will see some play, but it's like matchup dependent. In best of 1, I don't think you can run this because it's disproportionately aggro. So in competitive play, you're talking about sideboard, right? I think we're talking about sideboard. I think so. God, this card is sick though.
Dude, I feel so bad for you. That's so crazy. It's like you're low-key coping that, like, I feel like if you had the opportunity, you would just delete red from the game just so you can play other stuff.
Me? Yes.
So
give me the button. Give me the button.
It's also
I will
really,
push it.
It's also really funny because right now in standard for Druid, which is like known as the ramp class, they only have 1 ramp card currently.
Wow.
And that has made Druid a completely different game. Like it is. Imagine if Green didn't have any ramp now. Like we'll get to that later, but that's where Hearthstone's at. It's just funny how the similarities are happening. It's actually insane.
On the bright side, we do have, I just remembered this. We have to do Rarran art review. So sorry to the listening audience. Middle finger to you right away. But I'm going to show Rarran the, what is this, mana foil, ripple foil, something like that. The special version of Ugin.
I actually didn't read the comments. How did people like my takes? A lot of agreeers?
Oh, so many, dude. They think you're so smart. No, actually, you appreciate art more than me, so I think people like in general that. And whereas I'm just like, it doesn't look like a magic card.
Art is everything. Okay. Anyway, this is the. Oh, is this like the? I'm gonna call them signatures, but it was like the alt art of all the characters. They all look like this. Yeah. This is nice.
Yeah. I think this is a rainbow foil that we're looking at. Yeah.
What is the theme of this expansion? You were talking about dragons, but like, what else is there? Yeah,
dragons.
That's it.
There's dragons.
Where are they? Like what
dragons? Wow, enough. Okay. Okay. They're on a plane called Tarkir. They're on a plane that called Tarkir, which we've only visited one other time. It was known as one of the greatest and most amazing planes in standard formats ever. So it has a lot of good nostalgia. And on this plane was controlled by the Khans of Tarkir, which are 5 factions. Each made up of a 3-color combination. So the first card we saw was from the Abzan faction. That's one of the 5 factions. So each of these 3-color combinations has like a squad, a tribe, a team.
Okay.
And they are like control the plane. But that's only because something really bad happened and all the dragons got extincted like a million years ago. So this time-traveling planeswalker named Sarkhan shows up, and Sarkhan is the ultimate dragon simp. Just wants dragons just loves dragons, so into dragons, So Sarkhan travels back in time and keeps Ugin, who you're seeing here, the planeswalker, from dying or like in the very, very, very early times. And Ugin goes on to be like daddy of all dragons. Ugin is also a planeswalker, so can travel the planes. So Ugin, the spirit dragon, then births off a bunch of other dragons, and then you come back to present timeline, and the dragons are now ruling Tarkir. This is back in the set Dragons of Tarkir in 2015. So yay, dragons. There's so many dragons. There are dragon lords. They're so cool. Everybody loves them. So as we revisit the plane, In modern times, some shenanigans from a war with the Phyrexians have opened things called omen paths, which are wormholes between planes, so that you don't have to be a planeswalker anymore to traverse planes. Aether Spark was a death race across planes, so the omen paths made that possible. And the omen paths now are letting the dragons go apeshit crazy in other planes where they're not supposed to be. So now dragons are getting to worlds that are not prepared for dragons, and they're incinerating these other worlds, creating the Dragonstorm. And some people are going to be like, CDB, that's not the lore. I watched and read every bit of the lore. Look, that's the lore in less than 20 minutes. You're welcome. That's the theme of the plane. The dragons are ape shit, and we're trying to get control.
That is wow. Okay, I was not ready for that much information. That was actually insane. Is there like a YouTube video I can watch for like the entire history of Magic the Gathering? Like, I feel like that would go crazy.
All of Magic the Gathering? Yeah, there is one that's like the Magic the Gathering total story. It is out there. I forgot which channel put it out.
That sounds insane. I didn't realize it was this intense. My God.
If you want individual lore stories for individual sites, you can go to CovertGoBlue's YouTube channel, where there is a video released featuring the lore for the last several expansions that my wife produces and does a great job on. But
nice.
There is that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
okay. All right.
You feel caught up?
Okay, so I asked that question because I was curious to see why the color, like, it's so fluorescent and so bright, and because if you look between the original art and this one has a lot more colors going on. The other one's just like the blue. So
it's probably to sell like a weird art. Actually, that's probably the reason. It's not a thematic one. Rainbow, yeah, they've done rainbow foils before. They're pretty. Rainbow foils are pretty.
I was thinking it would be like a lore thing that this guy's all colorful now, and you went through the whole spiel, and I was like, I really don't understand why it connects to what you were saying with the planeswalkers and everything, like crossing over.
It doesn't. No, so it doesn't connect. It's just sell you pretty cards.
Okay, for pretty scale, it looks pretty good. Yes.
Nice. Cool. Here, so the problem with dragons historically is that dragons are huge, but dragons often can't be cast in metas that are fast. So, right. but they do have some interesting, cheaper dragons to look at.
Okay, love that. Okay, Clarion Conquer, 2 mana, 1 white, 2 neutral, 1 white. Flying, activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. And it's a 3/3. That is a crazy cool ability if it actually ends up working out. Hearthstone's actually had a lot of cards like that, where if they're on board. So Hearthstone has only done 1 counter. So like, for instance, like battle cries can't, or not, they've never done battle cries. I don't know why they haven't tried it yet. But like, for instance, like death rattles can't trigger, or like secrets can't trigger, stuff like that. Often those cards are too specific that they never see play. This one is like pretty, like you're covering up the whole board at this point, I'm pretty sure. Is there anything that gets
up
past
a
this?
lot? Anything that gets past
lands
this
can work, and then
lands can use their abilities, but they have to, or else that would be so toxic.
Are
that would be incredible.
Allowed to do their stuff? Is vehicles
basically do nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, they can't. So the crew ability of a vehicle is an activated ability, so they can't even be turned into creatures anymore. Like, this is a middle finger to vehicles.
So this card has the chance, because the cool thing about Magic is your opponent can't attack it unless you block with it, unless they have like another card to answer it. And a lot of these cards in Hearthstone, the reason why they end up being poor is because they can be targeted. Like if you have a problem, it's like, oh, I just trade my minion into it, that it's no longer an issue before I do something else with it, or before I like proc my death battle or whatever. So because you can't block it and it has flying, this might actually be a kind of a problem. And does this card do anything to mono red to make its life more miserable, or is this just not enough?
That's a really good question. The answer is no. They don't play any creatures, artifacts, or planeswalkers with activated abilities. All of their abilities are triggered. You just get stuff for doing stuff. That's the red deck right now. So no, this is not a good deck against red. Or a good card against red. I feel like
I should probably rate cards based on the fact that red doesn't exist. Thoughts? Because like this is depressing.
There are two other important decks in the format. One is a deck that bounces its own stuff over and over to get repeated value, Esper Pixie, and the other is the Domain deck that we talked about that is basically mana cheating and uses up the Beanstalk to draw cards.
Okay.
At least against the Domain deck, they can't use the card Zur, the Eternal Schemer, which turns their Domain Overlords into things that can attack right away. That is how they win the game. So it does at least shut down Zur's ability. This card shuts down a lot of things. The question is going to be like, yeah, does it find a home in a deck that makes sense, that can play a 3-mana 3/3 and not die for it?
Yeah, it's almost a weird problem too, because if this card counters the other decks that are not mono red, you're less likely to see them, which means you're probably going to see mono red more often. It
can, yeah, if this card were good and played often, it could actually make decks like mono red better. In fact, this could be a red card. So I use the term mono red pretty aggressively, as in there are a lot of decks right now that splash a little bit of green but are mostly the same red cards, splash a little bit of white but are mostly the same red cards. Like this could be a sideboard card in a almost mono red deck, and it would help in matchups where they have abilities that rely on these things that maybe help them against mono red. Like this against Zur is like one of the only cards that can like beat mono red, because it gives out lifelink and they gain so much life that the red deck can't keep up and actually kill them. Like if you play this before they play Zur, their Zur is just a 1/4 do nothing. So that's really good.
Wow, dude, that is, I mean, it's a good card. I'm telling you, in Hearthstone, if it was this generic of an effect to stop things from being activated, it'd be playable, especially this 3-mana 3/3. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's playable though, because is it really?
I think it's playable. It's this rate for this effect is not normal. I think this is actually going to get banned in Brawl in some of the formats, because it just turns off Planeswalkers entirely. Planeswalkers, for the most part, like there's the enter ability on Ugin that you saw that exiles a colored permanent, but for the most part, Planeswalkers rely on activated abilities. This card takes Planeswalkers out, just takes them out, which is crazy.
Imagine you're playing Commander and someone drops this.
If you have an activated ability on your commander, you probably hate that person to the core of your being, actually. Yes.
I mean, I'm going to say there's a chance it gets playable, because I think with most of these, like, I'm going to call them tech cards, there's always a chance, depending on what the metagame is. I'm hoping if you're saying Monstrous Rage, like, I guess the question you should ask is, if Monstrous Rage actually ends up getting banned, does that make mono red or mono red adjacent much worse? Or is it
That's
still
a good question. The biggest change that happens if mono red is banned and there isn't an easy replacement for it, which I don't think there is that blocking becomes an option. Blocking actually becomes an option.
Yeah.
That helps any creature. So like this card gets a lot better if Monstrous Rage is banned, because the blowout potential of Monstrous Rage on any kind of a blocking scenario is so massive that blocking as a strategy is dead in Magic the Gathering outside of limited formats. Just completely. Standard was one of the last constructed formats where blocking often mattered, and now it just does not matter in any way. You can't rely on it. I told you about, like, I played a 3-mana 6/6 on turn 2, Rarran, and I blocked, and it just got destroyed and trampled over like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. So yes, I think that this card gets a lot better if Monstrous Rage is banned. A lot better.
Okay, well, in the world that lives, then yes, I could see it getting played more often. Because then if the meta is more open, this covers a lot of the meta, and then therefore it's more playable. Right? I think that's the logic. But I mean, if Monstrous Rage doesn't get banned, I mean, good luck.
Well, I got another one. Let's see how playable this card is by comparison.
Okay. What the hell is that? Sun Pearl Kieran. One neutral, one white. Flash flying. When this creature enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If it was a token, draw a card. Turn up to one other target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand.
And it's a 2/1 flyer.
How good is returning a non-land permanent back to your hand?
What a question. What a question.
I'm trying to think of Hearthstone. In Hearthstone,
how would it be? Reset a location or something?
So in Hearthstone, like I mean, we have Shadow Step, right? But that doesn't really, it's not the exact same thing because that's 0 mana. They actually just released a card that is 2 mana, return a minion back to your hand, and summon a 4/4 stealth beast or something, I think it is. And that card's kind of playable. They obviously added a little bit more cards to make it synergize more, but if it was a token, draw a card. You hear that?
I do.
I live right next to or not right next to, but like very close to a fire department.
We can let it do its thing.
Yeah.
At the store, there was one night recently where like a chopper just kept flying over the store while we were filming, and we just kept having to pause and listen to this helicopter flying around. I don't know why. It's
what?
Up here, it's so weird that even happens at all. But yeah,
interesting. Okay, I mean, okay, so flash flying for a 2/1 for 2 mana sounds like that's pretty good. I think the fact that it has flash for 2 mana is pretty great. The issue may be that you don't want to return something back to your hand, and if it's a token, right? If it's a token and it goes back to your hand, it's like gone, right? Like you just draw a card.
Yeah.
So that's like replacing the token, which I guess is fine. I'm assuming that like this is a very good rate for what this does, but we're treating when the creature enters like a downside kind of thing, because you probably don't want to return something back to your hand for 2 mana. So the hope is like you have nothing else on board, and then you just play this as a 2/1. Would you agree with that or no?
So I think that would be a fair way to look at it in like a limited sense and in historical Magic. But one of the top 3 decks right now in the format runs, well, I'll show you. It runs like these cards are widely played right now.
Why does the Nurturing Pixie card scare me? Like the art? That doesn't look very nurturing.
Shut up, you're getting nurtured.
That is terrifying.
Just shut your mouth and get nurtured right now.
All right, 1 white for Nurturing Pixie. Flying, when Nurturing Pixie enters the battlefield, return to 1 target non-fairy, non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If a permanent was returned this way, put a +1/+1 counter on this. Okay, so this benefits for you bouncing something back to your hand. Fear of Isolation. What the fuck is that?
The fear of isolate. You're scared of being alone.
Are insane. Like, who drew that? That is guys. The artist is like, guys, I need some direction. They're just like, draw the most fucked bird you could think of.
Not bad.
Okay, Fear of Isolation, 1 neutral, 1 blue. As an additional cost to cast this spell, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. 2 mana, 2/3.
Yeah. So these cards are highly played because right now there's just a plethora of 1 and 2 mana cards that stay on the battlefield and kill something or get a card or make something, and playing them over and over again while making bodies is already a busted strategy in Standard.
I mean, if it runs the Pixie, I'm guessing the Kieran works really well with this, right?
Yeah. It just fits right in. They printed another one. So this is probably going to be one of the cards that sees at least some play. Maybe not. It's like the flash is really good. Like it's really good that it has flash because you can hold up your mana to deal with other threats or do other things. And if the opponent tries to kill your thing, you can flash this in and save your thing. Like this can bounce a Pixie that's about to die so that then you can play the Pixie in the future to bounce this to continue to protect the Pixie.
Oh my god, what the hell? That's actually kind of sick.
Yeah, and the whole deck is like a bunch of these effects that bounce little value pieces that either kill the opponent's card or make something for you. And it's just endless value, just playing your own stuff over and over because they all cost 1 or 2 mana. So as the game gets longer, you just get more value off of playing more and more of these.
Have I ever showed you Pogo Hopper in Hearthstone before?
No.
Oh, I have not.
Question mark?
Pogo Hopper is
probably not.
It's a 1 mana 1/1 that has the battle cry. give this +2/+2 for each other Pogo Hopper you played this game?
No.
I've never showed you that. Do you think that card was playable in Hearthstone?
Hell yeah. Let's go. Just turn 1 Pogo Hopper, turn 2 Pogo Hopper, Pogo Hopper.
Pogo Hopper.
That's how you
was
do
like,
it, right?
It wasn't. It was. I'm gonna call it okay. I wouldn't call it like meta defining at all. Like it was fine. It used to cost 2 mana and then they buffed it. At 2 mana it was unplayable. Like it was so bad. But I wanted it added a lot of spice to it because there's a lot of ways of getting more Pogo Hoppers. And like if your opponent just doesn't have constant removal or they're just not getting a tempo advantage, you could just win the game. Also, if you just get like the hand of like Pogo Hopper, Shadow Step, Pogo Hopper, Shadow Step, Pogo Hopper, coin Pogo Hopper, you just win on the spot. So like that was fun. But you guys don't have Shadow Step in this game. So it's interesting to see that this is so powerful because I think in Hearthstone, this is not good enough.
I mean, these strategies haven't been this powerful until they printed these really cheap cards that basically they do the thing you need them to do and they stay on the board so you can bounce them and get the thing again. They're like enchantments. Nowhere to run, like kills a thing the opponent controls, and is one of the few ways to get around some of the protection spells in the meta because it makes them lose hexproof and ward as an enchantment. So you just get that back and play that over and over to kill the red mice creatures. You play Hopeless Nightmare over and over, which makes them discard their hand 1 card at a time. For 1 mana. Yeah, it's a terrible annoying deck, but it's good. It's highly played.
I'm so glad that the 2 best decks in your format, maybe the top 3 out of 2, but are so
dude
enjoyable.
You gotta come play some standard with me, man. It's a throwdown. It's a war. It's a war zone out here.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if that deck is that good, then probably the flash flying thing is gonna get played.
Yeah, I think this card's going to be very widely played. So this was one where I just had to have it in the video because it has an obvious home. So I think people are going to be on it right away. Yeah, this one I'm not sure about. I've got another card for you.
Voice of Victory. 1 neutral, 1 white. Mobilize. Is this a new keyword for the set?
Yeah, new keyword.
Whenever this creature attacks, create 2 tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, interesting. Whenever this creature attacks. So you play this on 2, you have to wait 1 whole turn. And then you can attack with this immediately, or attack with this the following turn. You get 2 tokens that also do 2 damage. And then they're also on your opponent's turn and then your turn as well.
When this creature attacks, make 2 sack at the beginning of your next step. It's your next end step. So they're only around during your combat phase, your second main, and then they die.
Oh, okay. So they die. Okay, yeah, I get what you mean. So interesting. Your opponent can't cast spells during your turn. I think that line of text is pretty good. I kind of
that's the big one. That's the big one. That's
1 minute 1/3. Okay. 2 minute 1/3 with that line of text is disgusting. I would never attack with it.
And but even if you like, when you do, it hits for 3 if the opponent has no board. Like it's.
I guess that's fair. Okay, if they have no board, then yeah, you can attack with it. But that kind of effect just on board is, God, that makes me upset.
Dude, imagine it makes you upset. I'm a blue player.
Yeah, you just don't play the game. That's just over.
I'm done.
That's such a weird effect to make, man, because it negates like so many decks. If they're reacting to you, I mean, I don't know how popular it is to just hold mana for your opponent and see what they do. When I was playing it seemed like blue did that quite a bit.
It's become a really big part of every color because the early aggressive decks are so powerful that you need to answer plays early and you need to interact. And even the aggressive decks need to interact in some ways with their opponent because of a card called Sheltered by Ghosts. And Sheltered by Ghosts is the reason. Here, I'm going to have you read this. I don't remember if we actually looked at this card.
I don't know if I can tell you what it does.
Yeah, sure. let's revisit this card because it's one of the, especially in best of one, it's a very powerful card in the format. It makes a lot of decks that would be unplayable, like completely useless, terrible decks. It makes them okay by itself.
Okay, Sheltered by Ghost, 1 neutral, 1 white. Enchant creature you control. When Sheltered by Ghost enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Sheltered by Ghost leaves the battlefield. Okay, that's pretty good. Enchant creature gets +1/+0 and has lifelink and ward too. Oh my god.
Yeah. A huge part of like matchups for the red deck playing against many creature decks that run Shelter by Ghosts is like they try to stay mana efficient and pressure, but they always have to leave up 1 mana so that if the opponent casts Shelter by Ghosts on a creature, they can kill that creature in response before Shelter by Ghosts enters. Because once Shelter by Ghosts enters against a red deck and exiles their best thing and gives lifelink and ward 2, the game's almost done. Like they've almost lost because they can't race it if it's on a decently sized creature, and they often don't have the mana to pay to kill it later. So like this card is so brutal to red decks, and now we have Voice of Victory that can come down and just say you can't respond to this moment. It's nasty.
So
it's nasty.
If you put if you put Sheltered by Ghost on the Voice of Victory, it's just maybe GG against specific decks.
I think that if you put it on Voice of Victory, the opponent might still... It's not unreasonable for them to assemble a way to pay the ward and kill the 3 toughness creature. I think what's even more dangerous is turn 2 Voice of Victory, turn 3 something a little bigger, and then shelter the bigger thing. And they can't respond. Something like that sounds really terrifying.
Yeah, I will say in Hearthstone, like, we don't have ward, but the Sheltered by Ghost card would probably be playable. It'd actually be maybe the best card in the game.
Yeah, it's an absolutely cracked card in best of 1. In best of 3, the whole best of 3 format right now it kind of revolves around either cheap interactive spells like dueling with each other or going way over the top with Up the Beanstalk and drawing a bunch of cards. So Shelter by Ghosts isn't usually a good card in best of 3 because everybody's trying to do that dance. But now you have Voice of Victory. Maybe it will be better in best of 3 because you can lock them out of your turn at a pretty low cost on a pretty good body that does good things. That's absolutely wild.
That line of text, your opponent can't cast spells during your turn, is insane. That's very good.
Like, most people are going to want to play this. Like, they're surprised probably I'm talking so much about Shelter by Ghosts because it is strictly a middle finger to control decks. Just, you don't need Shelter by Ghosts. It doesn't matter. It's just like you play this, the opponent can't counter or respond to your things. It's absolutely brutal. And the fact that it can attack for 3 as a good clock on its own. If it were just a 1/3, you'd be like, okay, I can't counter anything for a few turns, but they're not pressuring me very much. No, it pressures you. It kills you too.
I'm shocked it has both, to be honest. That's actually insane. Mobilize seems like a pretty decent mechanic. And I feel like you could definitely make it so it's even better with like using tokens for your advantage. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mobilize is an interesting one. It's very fun in Commander. I'm curious how it does in Standard.
How did what's the Aether Drift mechanic? The Rev. Did that end up being good? What was it?
The
like
Rev?
Start your engines. Start your engines. That's what it was, right?
So weirdly, the only Start Your Engines deck that I've played that actually used that mechanic as part of the build that mattered was a mono red deck. Very aggressive. And it ran a bunch of goblins that took advantage of the ability. So, yep, it made the thing that it was a different take on mono red. To be fair, it plays a little differently, but that's the primary thing.
That's so sad.
You can tell I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited to play a new mono red variant that tries to kill you quickly. It's very great.
I was watching someone play Limited for Starting Your Engine, and it felt like the mechanic didn't really do a lot. So I was curious to see how good it would be in Standard if you could like kind of build a consistent way of doing it, but I guess it sounds like it's not great. So
I think in general Aether Drift was like most of the content around Aether Drift was pretty down on the mechanics, the flavor, a lot of things about the set. They're much more hyped about Tarkir in a lot of ways because it's a classic Magic set. So fingers crossed that in general it'll just be more happiness and less red, of course. I do think that the Voice of Victory is an insanely good card.
I'd agree.
What a nuts card. Absolutely crazy. While we're on Mobilize, I'm going to show you another one. This one, I have no idea. I'm really curious what you think.
Avenger of the Fallen. 2 neutral, 1 black, death touch, mobilize X, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard. Creature cards in your graveyard. 3 mana, 2/4 death touch. That's probably not the greatest in the world on its own. Mobilize X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So if you have no creatures, this is just a 3 mana, 2/4. That is poison or death touch.
That is true.
So you don't even get 1/1s.
That is true.
Comparatively to Shelter or Voice of Victory, I feel like it's significantly worse. But I guess the longer the game goes on, the better this gets, because obviously you're putting a lot more pressure and it becomes a 1-man army at some point. And
it does scale pretty hard.
Black does like discarding, right?
Yeah. So, there are a lot of ways to fill your graveyard in black. Yep.
How big do you think your graveyard would be of creature cards by turn 3 when you play this? Like 0?
I mean, it wouldn't be weird for this to be 0 on turn 3, to be honest, but it also wouldn't be weird if you just if you build around this, like you probably would play black green, so you'd have turn 1 Llanowar Elves, so you could play this on turn 2. Opponents usually kill Llanowar Elves, and then your deck is full of creatures, and you just fill it with like must kill threats, so the opponent has to keep killing them, and then each one of these is progressively dangerous, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of weak, though. I'm not gonna lie. Because is a 3 mana 2/4 that summons like 2 creatures as a 1/1 creature token, like attacking, like, is that good enough? I don't. Preacher of Yeah, I've seen that guy before. I was playing. He was like, he was in that black deck for Dustborn I was playing against you, I think.
Yeah. So that card is probably strictly better for now, which is
this card.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, as this maybe gets later into the game, like, yeah, this could be good, but if this ever becomes like a good enough deck where people have to be worried about it, they just hold the removal for it, and then like it just never attacks, and then it's just kind of whatever.
So what about this? What about, because there are a few cards that do this. What about a deck that's just built to mill, just turn itself upside down, throw everything in the graveyard, then casts or reanimates this with haste and attacks and makes 20 1/1s. And they're just dead on the spot. How about that?
Is that Disneyland, or like, is that actually a real thing?
I bet that could be a thing. That's the part where this card is a little more of a combo card. And maybe there's also, there's a card called Push Pull that reanimates 2 creatures until your end step and gives them haste. You would only need 10 creatures in your graveyard, because you get this, and you would get like a Vengeful Blood Witch, which says whenever a creature you control dies, the opponent loses 1 life. So then if you had 10 creatures in your graveyard, you reanimate those 2, you swing, you make all the creatures, both when they hit and when they die, and the opponent is just dead. They're machine gunned into the ground.
That is amazing. I'm gonna be honest though, it does sound Disneyland.
It's so Disneyland.
Okay, so yeah, there you go.
Hey, I just wanted to talk about a black card. We did it. We talked about one black card.
I mean, it's all cool right. Card. It would be funny to see that in like Arena, where you summon like 30 guys at once, and then just watch the board explode.
Triggers on Arena are addicting, man. The more triggers there are, the better it feels. Your game feels. It's true. Hey, let's get back to this dragon thing. That's way cooler than Mobilize. Am I right?
Yeah, sure. Magmatic Hellkite. 2 neutral, 2 red. Look at this guy. He looks dope as hell. Flying, when this creature enters, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Its controller searches their library for a basic land card, puts it on the battlefield tapped with a stun counter on it, and shuffles. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove 1 from it instead. Okay, so this is basically that land is like unusable for the following turn. You get rid of a land, they draw a land, but that land is unusable the following turn.
Yeah.
Or a 4 mana 4/5 with flying.
Yeah.
And it only destroys a non-basic land. Would a 4 mana 4/5 flying creature get played?
On its own, no abilities?
On its own, no abilities, yeah.
No.
Okay. And is this effect that good that you would play it? Like, it's definitely something to consider here, because you're destroying a card and they're -1 mana for 2 turns.
The going down a mana. So there have been these effects quite a bit of destroy target non-basic land, then they get to go search for a basic land. That is not unusual, and it was made that way because just destroying the land is too powerful, way too powerful. Okay. Absolutely brutal. The snowballiness of that is insane. This is the first time they've done it where the land enters with a stun counter. So it's like you destroyed the land, but only for one turn. This is the first time that this effect has been here. So that's the interesting part of the analysis, is how good is that?
Yeah, I feel like, okay, in Hearthstone, let me think about this. They're -1 mana. You don't get an additional mana, but it'd be gone for an additional turn because you can't use the mana they're going to get the following turn. And you summon a 4/5 body. If you do back to back, it's pretty decent in Hearthstone. Like,
it's so brutal. If either you blink it and play it again, or if you play two. Oh my god.
If you could do back to back, I feel like it's just winning you the game. And I feel like I've saw enough non-basic lands that this is actually playable. But again, it's like, is the game gonna go on long enough for this is needed? Maybe not. But in a reality where like games actually go beyond turn 3, like this could be so detrimental to your opponent. Seems pretty good.
Nasty. I think this card is brutal. It scares me. Let's do we'll also do art review. This is the dragon art, the special dragon art. You like that?
Yeah, that is nice. That is very nice. Ooh. Dude, I love the art magic. They look so good. Man, yeah, it looks amazing. I actually like it a lot. I think they've done such a good job on like the alt art. It's the full art, like with the text on it, looks just very, very good.
Yeah, this one in particular has a really good silhouette. Like, it's just a sick looking dragon.
Yeah,
I hate this card a little bit.
Wait, you think it's gonna be that good? I don't know if there's anything I've learned about card gamers, and you will relate to this, is that when they see their mana getting touched, right, especially after you did that video where it's like the most hated Magic the Gathering cards, there's going to be a more visceral response because emotionally you're like, don't touch my lands. So is this more of an emotional take that you're going to be like, oh, it looks so good? Or is it like in actual gameplay, is it going to make that much of a difference? Because don't get me wrong, there's a card in Hearthstone called Doomkin, which was 6 mana. The stats don't matter because you're playing it for the Battlecry. You're playing for Battlecry, steal one of your opponent's empty mana crystals. And that means that not only do they lose the mana, but you gain the mana. And that card was disgusting because you gaining the mana was so much worse than just taking the mana away from them.
Agreed.
And that's also in Druid, so you probably know how that goes. Where this is like, yeah, they lose the mana, but they still get another land back. It's just like -1 mana for 1 turn. They're not like permanently behind. So
it feels permanent in this format. It's a fast format. Man, and going into specifically, like if you do this on turn 4, there's kind of this watershed moment where like people aren't casting 7 drops. I can't think of a 6 drop that's getting a lot of played in standard, but 5 and 4 drops, yeah. And the 5 and 4 drops that are getting played are game changing 4 and 5 drops that really swing the game. Stalling that for a turn feels like it could be lethal. If the opponent, for those wondering, like Beza is a stabilizing force right now. This is a 4/5 for 4 that when it enters, you gain 4 life and you make 2 creatures if you're behind. Like that's a really important card. It's one of the only things that when played on curve can kind of like make red like slow its roll. Okay. If this comes down and you don't get to Beza on time, that sounds like an absolute killer. Not only that, there are decks in standard now that do not want to run any basic lands in them whatsoever. There are some decks that will never get that land.
Oh. Ooh. Ooh, see, that's kind of nasty. Yeah, see, that's way better. This is a tough one. This one's definitely more of a meta call that I don't know if you're just gonna run it in like every single deck. Because this may do just not enough, which is shocking to say because I'm thinking Hearthstone this would at least be tried out for sure, and maybe insane.
Yeah, I think it's a sideboard red card for sure, and it might be a main deck red card, which is so terrifying to me. If this card is good, I'm gonna hate standard more than I do. It's so nasty, dude. It's so mean. And yeah, the idea of if they play two of them, like when going first, the snowballing nature of that, or just if there's a deck that can easily blink this. Actually, God, there's a card called Fortune that when it attacks can exile a card that saddled it that would curve right into this, which would basically let you use this ability every turn. Ooh.
I mean, if there's something that degenerate that's actually good enough, then yeah, obviously this is probably good enough, because that is the win con. Just your opponent can't play the game anymore.
Yeah, that's good magic. Speaking of degenerate, I've got a card for you. It's more dragons.
Okay. Storm Scale Scion, 4 neutral, 2 red, flying. Other dragons you control get +1/+1. Storm. When you cast the spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. Copies become tokens. Oh, that's kind of exciting. Is Storm a new mechanic as well, or has that been in the game? I feel like maybe I've seen that before.
Storm has been in the game. I should do just a video of Storm cards for you. So there is a self-coined by one of the designers of the game, quote, Storm Scale in Magic, of how terrible designs are for cards. And it goes from one being, this is a totally fine design, to Storm, which is the most broken mechanic ever created that should have never been made. Storm cards... I mean, they don't often. This is the first Storm card in standard in, I am not sure how long. A long time. A long
you
time.
Cast the spell, copy for each spell cast before in this turn. Copies become tokens. So how many spells do you have to cast for this to be like nuts? For 6 mana, 4/4, probably not good enough.
Yep, on its own, it's meh.
2 of these means you get a 6 mana 5/5 and a token that's a 2/2.
The token is a copy of this card.
Oh, so it'd be a 5/5 as well. It'd be a 5/5 as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it would have been copy. It was like the ability, not the stats. Like it is like it's mirroring its effect. I thought tokens are always 1/1s, but no, I guess that's completely wrong. In Hearthstone, we always call like tokens like 1/1s and stuff. That's usually what they are. So that means you get 2 5/5s for if you cast one spell before this for 6 mana.
Yes. Yeah.
Oof. That's okay. That's pretty good. 6 mana.
Number keep going up, by the way.
Flying. You do this at 3 spells, you get 3 6/6s. Oof. Is 3 6/6s that are flying good enough to win a game for 6 mana? Plus the other mana you have to have.
I think I think it's very possible it could win a game. Yeah. The opponent would have to answer it with a total board clear that hit these things.
But how likely are you to because this is 6 mana. So you need to have additional mana for you to play before you even cast this card for it to be good. So does that mean you're playing this on 8 mana, or you're hoping that you're green and you're ramping into this?
Let me show you another card from the set.
Okay, because I'm gonna be honest with you, that might be Disneyland, but hold on. Mox Jasper, 0 mana, add 1 mana of any color. Activate only if you control a dragon. Legend art. See, this is like Innervate, and you get one extra. You get 1 extra. I mean, but it's only 1 mana, unless activating this counts as a. But there's no way it doesn't.
Casting it counts as a spell.
Oh.
Yeah, 0 mana spell.
Oh, so
that's Storm count 1.
So what? You
already have 2 dragons.
You play this, you activate it. You have a second one in hand. You play it, and then you get the second mana, and then you go to Disneyland with Scions. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is bad.
Okay.
I think this is too slow. I feel like you're
okay
because you need if you get 2 dragons, it's not enough. I don't think it's enough. I think you need at least 3, if not 4.
I do agree. This is. I don't think they'd print this if it weren't fine. I say that and I immediately feel silly. So what we need with the Stormscale Scion is we need a way to cast like multiple spells for free. And when you're doing that, you're already doing something degenerately broken. So at that point, do you need Stormscale Scion, right? We need something that we need some Hearthstone-y effect that casts like 3 spells at random for free. and you hit the Scion and it makes like 3 dragons afterwards. Something like that, I think. That's my vibe too.
I don't know if enough, like, I don't know about Magic, but raw stats in a game, I'm not sure if they're going to be good enough. You usually have to be doing something stronger than this to win a game at this point, like Hearthstone. Because 6 mana doesn't translate equally to Hearthstone, just because of the fact that you have to draw lands and stuff, and you have to make sure that your deck is like, there's enough density where we just get it passively, right? So I feel like it's harder for you to play this than it is what it would be in Hearthstone. And in Hearthstone, I think it's not good enough.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of 6 mana cards that get played at all, let alone ones that have to be paired with other spells to be good. But hey, it is like kind of on the bright side.
What bright side? That
on the right side, then you can play this in Commander and probably make like 50 dragons in a variety of ways. That's what you can do. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's a Commander card. There's a Commander card. Also, the Mox Jasper. They're like, guys, we're making a new Mox. This is by the way, Mox Jasper is the chase card for the set. This is going to be the one that has like the special serialized version that you can open.
That makes sense.
This is the one that has the special printing. Everybody's like, holy hype, a new Mox. The history of Moxes in the game is kind of, fabled and highly loved. And so they make this serialized version that I'm showing you right now that you can open. Oh, that's going to be worth so much money.
Are you going to hunt for that or no?
Yeah, you can. I just don't think the card's any good. It only makes mana if you have a dragon.
Yeah.
Like dragons are expensive. Yes, an extra mana is good, but do you really need 1 more mana when you have a dragon? It goes in the Commander Dragon decks. I don't know how this is going to do much in Standard, to be honest. You would have to be running a lot of cheap dragons, and we saw a 3 mana one, but like that's kind of the floor on dragons.
Wait, so all your dragons are expensive in Magic?
Dragons are typically expensive.
Interesting. We have so many 1-cost dragons. Hearthstone.
You have 1-cost dragons? See, this card's busted. This card busted.
Yeah, I was gonna say in Hearthstone, like this card's probably the nuts. So that makes. If I could do it every single turn, yeah, it'd be very, very good. Because there's decks right now currently in the game that play dragons like virtually every single turn. So 0 mana Innervate that you can activate every turn seems pretty good.
Here's let's do another red card here. This one's a little interesting. I'm curious about this card.
Corey Steelcutter. 1 neutral, 1 red. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and haste. Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess. You may attach this equipment to it. Flurry you can only proc once per turn, I'm guessing, right? It's because it's only your second spell?
Yeah, it's exactly on the second spell, but it's on the second spell for each turn. That's yours or your opponent's.
Creature gets +1/+1. So you would play this. This counts as 1 spell?
Yeah.
So then you'd play one other thing, and then you would attach this to the white monk creature token with prowess.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to pay the equip cost. Ooh, interesting. Is that nuts?
Then maybe, right? Because then if that creature dies, like they deal with the creature, but this is still there. So if you cast 2 spells on your next turn, you get a free 2/2 prowess trample haste.
Yeah, I was trying to think. It's 2 mana for +1/+1 every single turn, plus the additional keywords, and you get the extra token every single time as long as you cast 2 spells. That seems very good. Probably good enough. It also probably is good enough to fit in mono red, right?
Is it good enough for mono red? I think it's at the worst, it feels like a good mono red sideboard card. Their curve is low. They cast a lot of spells. If the opponent's going to play like 20 removal spells that kill creatures, right? And they use like 3 of them on these monks that you're getting for free just for casting other spells, eventually they're going to run out.
Yeah, it seems pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. It seems nuts. Yeah, especially because you could bypass the equip cost. That seems good.
Yeah,
that seems good. I'm down. I'm actually this might be the best card you've shown me, to be honest with you.
I think you're right. This card scares me. This is like a weapon that made guys. It's a weapon that makes guys, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And Hearthstone, this is insane. I think it would be, at least if it worked the exact same way.
I don't feel like I've seen anybody talking about it, which is one of the reasons I've been thinking that I'm crazy.
Well, again, most people want to respond to the cards that have like a visceral reaction, right? This one doesn't give me a visceral reaction. It just looks like a pretty good card. Pretty boring, but very good, right?
That's insanely good. Insanely good. They're going to ban Monstrous Rage, which, by the way, the big problem with Monstrous Rage is that it leaves behind the aura that gives +1/+1 and trample. What does this do?
Yo, relax. Yeah, it leaves another haste straight and trample.
Yeah.
And I guess you could buff your token enough that it would be good enough to like kill someone. And then you don't even lose the minion that are your original creature, and you don't even lose the weapon. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Yeah, it seems good.
And the next turn you make another. You can even do something like on the opponent's turn, cast 2 burn spells and make another creature.
Yeah. Looks really good. I like it.
Yeah, they found a way. They're going to ban Monstrous Rage because it's like an uncommon, right? And then they're going to print this rare that immediately like gets people to craft it. It's a conspiracy to take our money, Rarran.
I mean, they're geniuses. Let's be real here. Has to be correct.
100% 5-head. All right.
I agree. It 100%. It's actually insane. If that's intentionally their plan, it's very, very smart.
I'm going to show you. Let's go back to talking about happy dragons, not how mono red is going to kill us all.
Dragons are Disneyland. What do you mean?
This is an interesting take on dragons, though, because this dragon is also a spell.
Oh, okay. Disruptive Storm Brood. 4 neutral, 1 green. Okay, green's important because it ramps. I guess I'll start with the creature side first. So it's flying. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Okay, 5 mana, 3/3 dragon that destroys an artifact or enchantment. Okay. Or you can spend 2 mana, which is 1 neutral, 1 black. It's a sorcery. What does Omen mean? Does that matter? So
it does. You're gonna want to read the last line of italic text under the effect to find out like what's unique about omens.
Okay. Destroy target creature with power 3 or less, then shuffle this card into its owner's library.
That's omens. You shuffle the card back into the library and maybe draw it later.
Destroy target creature with power 3 or less. How much? Okay, so it's been a while since I've been playing, but I believe there's a 1 mana card that kills a minion with like 5 or less stats.
Yeah,
black.
Cut down. Yeah,
so and then there's one that kills a non-artifact creature for 2 mana.
Yeah, go for the throat. Yep, doesn't have a power restriction.
So, do you want this? Is this good? Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't really want it to shuffle in my deck. Like,
no.
If I'm playing this as removal, I probably want to draw better stuff as the game continues going. So then that leads towards the dragon, which you need a green mana for, which I believe there is a deck that did that when I was playing. But a 5 mana 3/3 flying that I guess destroys up an artifact or enchantment is pretty good. Depends on what it has on board contextually, of course, but like that's not horrible. I guess if like you're shuffling, if you're shuffling it back into your deck, you're probably not paying Petty Revenge. You're probably playing the actual minion itself. But does this actually help you against mono red?
That's a great question.
which is the problem, right?
Yeah. So the cheap creature decks, the reason I'm interested in this card is that the cheap creature decks, just you have to answer every single thing they play because they all spiral out of control. But they all start really low. They all start at 3 or less. So it can kill on its own at base stats. It can kill every single creature they play. And if you're shuffling it back in, it does increase the density of removal in your deck to give you chances to draw and kill more things. The other side of the equation is that all of the decks that try to outdraw you and take advantage of your bad cheap removal spells by just drawing more and more powerful cards, they use enchantments and artifacts, mostly enchantments, as value engines. So these are the two pillars of standard right now are these enchantments and artifacts that are value engines or cheap creatures that kill you if left unattended. And this is a card especially in a best of one setting, that gives you a way to address both. Because one of the big problems is running enough removal to deal with the red deck, but still having space somewhere in your deck to add a card that can blow up an enchantment or artifact. Because there just aren't a lot of cards that can do it all at a good rate, a rate that makes sense. So I don't know. This card gets me interested, but it is awkward. It is a sorcery. But hey, we can't cast spells on our opponent's turns anymore, right? That's
oh,
the victory
you're
bard.
right. Yeah, you're so right. That means this is so much better.
I'm coping so hard. you still think I'm wrong? You think this is bad?
I don't think
you don't think it's good.
I don't think.
I want to like this card. I want to like this card a lot.
Look
at this little guy. He's our friend.
You can like it. It's just I don't know. I feel like there's better removal for 2 mana or less at that point. And
Rarran's like, you can like it, I just will respect you less. That's all.
No, it's not even respect. It's just like, listen, I want you to win games and have fun, right? So
thanks, buddy.
I think if you with this one, it's just maybe not good enough, and then it's gonna make you sad. But I could be wrong. Like maybe it is a lot better than I think it's gonna be. But I personally just don't see it. I
can't wait till I have a 4/4 and I'm casting a 5 mana 3/3. And just coping as hard as I can. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at some of these cons cards, because we haven't looked at a lot of the cards out of the cons specifically. They're
cons.
That's the 3 color cards that are. Man, okay. I'm scared. If there aren't good cons decks, like they all have names like Avzan and Jeskai, and these things are very evocative to people who played during that time period, because we absolutely like kind of picked our con and ride or died with our con. I was a Jeskai mage till the end. And if there isn't a good Jeskai deck, to me, this set is at least partial fails. To be honest, like that's how important it is. Like the identity in these things was huge. So I'm going to show you a Jeskai card. One of the obvious problems with these is they all have to be at least 3 mana because they're 3 different colors, but let's go.
Okay. Flamehold Grappler. 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. First strike, human monk creature, first strike. When this creature enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn when you cast it. You may choose new target for the copy to 3/3. Ooh.
Oh, he's already disappointed. He knows he's going to have to let me down, right?
Ooh.
3 different mana for, first strike for a 3/3, whatever. When this creature enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn when you cast it. So that means you're not even casting this as a 3 mana card. There's no way. Or on 3 mana. Unless you really want the tempo.
It would be very tempo-y, very desperate-y. It's definitely hoping to scale into the later game, yes.
I hate to say this to you, but...
No, don't do it.
I don't know. This is no... Like, Hearthstone has, in 2018, it has Alexa's Storm Surge. That'll cry the next spell you cast the next spell you play cast twice. That card was good.
Yeah.
But that was in 2018 Hearthstone. So I don't know how good it is now.
Oh no.
And that is literally, again, that is not even the requirement of having 3 different mana colors, which I don't think is inherently that hard. But that means you have to build your deck for this, and there has to be a spell that you want to cast twice that's going to do enough that this card is actually worth it. So is there a spell that you would want to cast twice that is like 1 mana that you would be happy with playing with us?
That's
maybe the question. Because I'm assuming you're thinking
I have a card
spell
that draws 1 card that could draw me 2 cards, and now I'm doing it, man. I'm cooking.
I have to remember too, though, that spells are creatures in this game, right?
Yes, so that's right.
You could
would copy a creature. Yes,
that's inherently kind of interesting. In Hearthstone, Electra only did an actual spell, right? Not a minion. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's ever been a card in Hearthstone that plays a minion twice. I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
We're getting you now. We're getting you. Maybe a little.
This is too slow.
Oh, damn it. Okay, so let me sell you some cards. There's do you remember the bird Slick Shot Show Off that has plot? Like you can
yes.
You can pay 1 in a red to exile it instead of casting it, and then the next turn after you can cast it for free.
Yeah, but then are you really putting this for mono red type of stuff, or it's just
you'd have 2 birds? How do you
But,
not
like,
want 2 birds?
You could just say, oh, I'd rather use my 3 mana on literally anything else rather than having 2 birds, because that means you're playing this and you're playing the bird that's like your whole turn unless you have additional mana.
2 birds. Let's be honest. Let's be real. Let's give it the credit it's due. That's 2/1/2 flying attackers right there. 2 of them. 1/2s.
Yeah, but you spent 4 mana.
Okay. God, what can we copy with this? I want it to be good, dude. I want the cons to be good. It's an exciting card. Like, how do
It is an exciting card.
How do I play this and copy the magmatic Hellkite and just blow up 2 lands?
You
How do I
play
do
commander instead of standard.
God damn it. You're right. You're so right. I hate how right you are. Oh my God. I really want, so the 3/3 first strike isn't that bad, because one of the biggest problems coming from the aggro decks is first strike / double strike, and a first strike creature running into a double strike creature can like block in theory, but of course prowess still makes that so impossible. Oh God, yeah. I want to try this card. I'm going to try this card. I don't care what you say. But I think the number of times I'm going to just play it on turn 3 and hope I untap next turn alive is going to be way too high. I think it's going to be way too high.
I don't know. It feels like it's too Disneyland, sadly. That's just my opinion, though. I don't see it ever working out.
All right. Well, let's try the Abzan one. Maybe you'll like the Abzan one.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. That one has a very high ceiling, though, so it depends on what you're casting. Like, I think it matters more about the spell you're gonna cast rather than the card itself. It's like a 3-mana tax. Severance Priest, 1 white, 1 black, 1 green. Death Touch. When this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, exile that card. When this creature leaves the battlefield, the exile card owner creates an XX white spirit creature token where X is the mana of value of the exiled card. It's 3/3.
What? Isn't that good? So good, right?
Let me think this through for a second. Let me think this through. 3 mana, 3/3. I'm thinking this in Hearthstone terms. 3 mana, 3/3 poison. Take a card from my opponent's hand. Get rid of it. And then when this dies, they get it back anyways. And they also summon a creature equal to its mana cost.
They do not get the card back.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Okay. I was going to say, if they got the card back, I think this is maybe worse than the last one. This one, that's interesting. You get to see your opponent's whole hand. You get to pick the card that it's going to be the most valuable, like tempo wise, probably, or like that's going to remove this card anyways. So you're always targeting removal for this, because if they kill it, they just get this card. They get the stats back. I mean, that's an interesting one, and it has Death Touch too. I'm not against this. It's not the worst thing in the world. The creature doesn't get to attack if it's on their turn anyways, because that's summoning sickness. So it's like,
yes,
this one's probably better than the last one. This one is purely like tempo, and I think that's probably better than just hoping that my next spell cast twice is going to be good enough.
Does that art look like a Hearthstone card to you? A little bit.
It kind of does.
It really, kind of does.
It kind of does. I actually
what the heck is that, actually? A Djinn, isn't it? Like actually, Hearthstone has literally a card called that in the game. Hold on. When did they have Djinns in?
What did I call it?
Abzan. Am I missing something? When did this happen?
Here, Hearthstone has this, which is like, I guess, close enough.
Benevolent Djinn. Bro, it's the same picture.
Is it?
What the heck?
It's kind of close.
It's pretty close. Your Djinn has curves. Mine has no curves. My Djinn wouldn't dare have curves, but otherwise same picture. Seriously, are you looking at this? You looking at this right now?
I'm gonna show you some Hearthstone cards later. I want to hear your opinion on art.
Oh, good. I can't wait. Okay.
Yeah. Overall, I think this card's better than the last one. Probably playable. The thing is like, it really comes down to I'm gonna base this off the bird or the bat, and the bat was 2 mana. You get a 1/2, you get a flying, and then you get. Did it have lifelink?
It had lifelink. Yeah, it did. It was very played. Very played that bat. Absolutely.
I think this is worse than the bat, but it's still good.
It pressures better than the bat. It does, and it can trade up, I suppose, which makes it kind of interesting in that it might make a big chonky creature that the opponent gets when they kill it, but then you play another one and at least it has death touch. I don't know.
So the creature token doesn't have the effect of the card that you're getting rid of either, right?
Nope. Okay, it's just
actually,
a big chonky.
This card might be good. This card's probably good. I think Meatballs in Hearthstone is bad, but if you're losing the effect, then it's probably okay, because like you don't really care about a bunch of stats, especially in a game where you can block those big meatballs. So it's probably a lot better. At least the last one.
I'm medium on it, but I think I agree. I think it'll get played a good amount.
You think it's better than
it has
the
a good
Grappler?
effect right away.
But
God, I don't want to say that because fuck Abzan.
No way, man.
Hate Abzan. Abzan's my enemies, but yeah. Yeah, I think it is. There was a card called Lifebane Zombie that saw a lot of play. That was a 3/1 Intimidate. When it entered, it exiled a green card from the opponent's hand, and green was popular enough that that card just got played in decks.
I guess so.
Severance Priest probably will. There's a card called Thought Not Seer that also saw play. That is a 4-mana version, 4/4 like this. But when the Thought Not Seer died, the opponent drew a card. This when it dies, creates a board presence. That might be an issue in current standard. That might turn out to be worse than I think it is, but it seems like a good card. I think it's one of the better cards, Severance Priest. Yeah, it's solid. If those colors are playable, it's a good card.
You think that the stats on board is more relevant than them drawing a card?
In current meta, maybe.
Well, I'm thinking that like if you have to pick removal, I think in almost every instance when it comes to this card. So if the removal is like 2 mana, you're getting rid of a removal, and then when decides they just summon like, I don't know, like a 2/2. Like I think that's pretty good.
that's pretty good. Yeah, the curves in standard are low enough. I think there will be times where you play this on like turn 4 and your opponent has a board wipe, so you have to take the board wipe, so that's a 4 or a 5 mana card, but then they draw another board wipe where they had 2 to begin with, and then they cast that, and then they blow up your whole board and they have a 4/4. That's brutal.
Yeah,
like, that's gonna suck. That won't be fun for you. So that's the other situation I see with the card, but it seems like a good card. Seems like the Abzan is once again getting good cards while I get weird Jeskai stuff. All right. I am so, you can tell I'm a little standard jaded. You can feel it. It's such an aggressive, brutal format.
Yeah, it's cutthroat. It feels like it's not very fun, if I'm gonna be honest, but
some people like that. And you know what? I'll even tell you, even though I'm like sick of it in a number of ways, there's still like sometimes on the weekend I'm just like, I want to throw down. I'm feeling aggressive.
No shot.
Where's my enemy? Well, I'm gonna destroy my enemy. No,
you queue up
no
Magic
way.
off stream or off recording?
Do you not play Hearthstone off stream?
No. No. I mean, currently yes, because rotation just happened and expansion just got released.
Didn't want to admit it, but you heard that.
No, but currently yes. But I can't remember the last time I'm playing Hearthstone off stream for fun. Like ever. I can't remember the last time. Partially because obviously I really like the Bazaar, so like I'm playing that almost every single time over the game currently. But yeah, I can't remember the last time I was like, yeah, I want to play some Hearthstone.
I started playing other games like both online and off for like my soul, and
That's good.
I'm monster hunting wilds now and then, which has kind of taken the place of that competitive need to destroy some noobs.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't want to get into Monster Hunter Wilds too much. I'll go off. But we have to cover this card. Somebody tweet at me that I have to show you this card. This is what the heck is this card? Let's find out.
Is this from the same set?
Yeah.
The Sib-Sig ceremony? Sib-Sig
ceremony?
3 black, legendary enchantment. What is this art, dog? Creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, destroy that creature and then create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Zombie druid in My Magic the Gathering?
I don't know how to explain that.
So
to be honest, it's not the only card that makes zombie druids either.
Mechanically, you got to explain something to me. Does it still do the enter the battlefield thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, this card might slap.
What are you doing with it? What's going on? What's cooking?
See, that is impossible for me to know or not to know because I do not know what like the cards available in the standard set are. But I can tell you in Hearthstone, if I'm playing cards specifically for their battle cries and I just get like a 2/2 zombie druid token, and like I'm paying 0 to cast these cards, I'm pretty happy. Especially,
oh god, it is just 2 less. Yeah, an artifact creature could be 0. Yeah,
and like any death rattles or whatever it is, the equivalent of Magic the Gathering, get infinitely better because they die immediately. Like Hearthstone's really try to push death rattles because they're too slow, so they have a lot of these effects, and if they end up sticking on board, they're really really good. So like, and this is just an enchantment, so like you spend the 3 mana, and that turn or the following turn, you just can absolutely pop off. Like this seems like an actually really good card. In Hearthstone, I feel like this would be insane. Like this is not nuts. What is this?
Maybe it is. It's a tough one to wrap my brain around. It's like, God, if you play 2 or 3 spells, and especially if there's a creature that, or if you have some kind of a thing on board that says whenever a creature enters or dies, you draw a card or something like that. Like, yeah. You could just go crazy. You could just absolutely go crazy.
I think I actually, again, it really depends on what cards are available for black, but this has the chance of being like disgusting because I think in Hearthstone I can make this work.
In Hearthstone you can make this work, like in the current standard format.
Maybe not the current standard format, but like for instance, there's cards that are like 1 mana 1/1 death rattle, draw a card that costs 7 or more mana. Like I would play this, you get to play that for free, which means you draw an extra card, you draw a card, you cycle the card, you kill it immediately, which means you draw the next card. It's also 2 mana less. And then on top of that, you get instead of having a 1/1, you get a 2/2. And then you could do that multiple with 2 copies of it. And then you can also just play really low cost stuff to get their death rattles or battle cries and then summon 2/2s. And then because it's infinite, you technically could cycle through a lot of your deck because it's 2 mana less for everything. That seems so good.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I'm trying to think of like the black cards that get played and what are the ETBs or death rattles as you call them. We don't dies triggers, I guess is what we call. Death rattle sounds cooler. I'm trying to think of like what black would do because it is triple black. It's a big black commitment.
This might be Disneyland, but you could also play a card before you play this. Like I don't know if you guys have a minion that is like when a minion dies, like gain +1/+1 or gain stats or whatever, or draw a card. You play that into the ceremony and then you just cycle your whole deck.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, whenever a creature dies, get a +1/+1 counter or something. That wouldn't be crazy. That wouldn't be silly to exist. That could happen. Or like the way you can stack triggers in Magic is if we have a sack outlet, something that's like sacrifice a creature, gain +1/+1, then that creature, the trigger to destroy this creature and make the druid like goes on the stack. So you could still sacrifice the creature you played for some other purpose or value and still get the zombie druid.
Interesting.
This is crazy. This is getting a little wild. This is a card right here. Maybe
you think it's good?
Maybe it is good. The heavy black commitment is terrifying in standard, but one thought I had, like just looking at all this stuff, is, wow, this would make that storm scale Scion card. Maybe this is how you get a high storm count.
Yeah, but doesn't it? Oh, but so the original creature would die, but then you get all the tokens, right?
Well, yeah, the storm thing would go off, and it says whenever a creature enters, if you cast it, destroy it. You didn't cast the things that were made by the storm trigger, so you keep all those dragons. Yeah.
Maybe that is your strategy then, right? Because then it's infinitely better because it'd be 4 mana for the Scion, and then you have just other cards that cost way less, and then potentially you get into the battlefield too. Any card that says like 2 less for 3 mana and it's any creature, I feel like the potential is very high. Also, this is a card that's available for how many years in standard? Like
ever. That's how standard works now. It's here forever. It's never going away. It's impossible to go away. The technical answer is, I believe, 3 years.
Okay, so in 3 years, at some point,
we'll be old men. We'll probably refuse to play our collective games that we love so dearly.
3 years. Love so dearly. Yeah, you're right. I love
Yeah. We love Magic. It's great. That's 3 years.
My God.
Ooh. But I mean, at least this card is a dream, right? This has a very real like build it dream.
Yes,
I like that.
I can see it working out. I can absolutely see it working out. I believe
All
in
right.
it.
Nice. Is it the best card in the set?
I haven't seen all the cards. Probably the best card you showed me, at least in my opinion. Other than
Those are the
weapon.
cards I'm going to show you today. Do you have is it your favorite?
Favorite? Yeah, probably, to be honest with you. Not the freaking Rhino.
Oh, poor
That's a
power
good card.
creep.
I think
Poor
the ceremony card
power
is really
creep.
good in standard and Hearthstone. Actually, hold on, let me see in Warlock. I'm actually genuinely curious how good it would be. Hold on, standard.
Wait. We've made this whole video. You know this isn't a Hearthstone expansion, right?
No, I know,
Just
but I'm just
checking,
seeing
just
like
checking.
how good it would. Oh my God, no! See, like it would be, bro. There's a card in Hearthstone right now called Archroot of Thorns. It's 2 mana, 3/2 battle card. Gain the death rattles of your minions that died this turn. Like you could go crazy with that card, the ceremony card.
It doesn't replace colored pips, which is like in Magic that's a thing. In Hearthstone that's not. But I'm still sure you can do a lot of crazy stuff.
I believe in it.
I believe in it too. I think it's the coolest card now that I actually like try to spell it out. That freaking steel cutter thing scares me. The red equipment scares me.
What card do people think is the best card for the set so far? Like is it one you showed me?
Ugin has the most hype by a mile.
No shot.
No, I'm not kidding. People love Ugin.
Okay.
Freaking Commander players, they're taking over the game.
Unless they're talking about Commander, then it's completely different. But I think in Standard, it's like that's Disneyland. I gotta really start making some merch that's like "Welcome to Disneyland" or some shit. But then I'll get copyrighted by
I'm sure
Disney.
there's no legal entity
that-
out there that would go after you whatsoever. That's totally fine. It's gonna be fine. They're gonna be like, you know what? Let the little creator make his merch using our phrasing on it. We don't care. I mean, you may as well give the middle finger to Nintendo while you're at it.
What if I
Let's see
start
what
pointing it
happens.
as Rarran Land? Welcome to Rarran Land, and then it's just the same concept, but then I won't get copyright infringed.
Not a bad idea, actually. You should
Thank you.
should probably get right on that. Guys, let us know in the comments. Would you buy Rarran Land merch? Welcome to Rarran Land. I'm kind of about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. I could get that done. That actually sounds really good. I say it so
Beautiful.
often, dude. I don't think you realize how often I say Disneyland.
I've had your stream on occasion.
Can I tell you? Let me explain something. I talked to one of the designers a lot in Hearthstone. And this past Sunday, I was like, "Hey, are you on?" And he's like, "No, I'm." That's what he wrote to me. This is the photo we sent. Hold on. He sent me this photo.
We're leaking DMs of designers now here. Okay. Wait, what? That's Cinderella's Castle.
Yeah. Then he wrote this because the expansion was coming out on Tuesday.
Asking the professionals on the best deck for Tuesday. Oh, I get it, because they're going to Disneyland to get advice on how to build Hearthstone decks. Wow.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Wow. The influence you're spreading. I'm sure that the multi-billion-dollar company appreciates the marketing efforts you're doing on their behalf.
What, Disneyland? It's just fun. It's just like the amount of
We
time
do
I say,
need
like,
we do need Rarran Land. We need Rarran Land.
unironically made a deck for this upcoming expansion called Disneyland Paladin. Unironically, I'm not gonna go through what it is, but it is called going to Disneyland. And the idea is so stupid that if it works, you're going to Disney. And I made it happen on an expansion day, so it is what it is. It's
Bravo. I'm gonna rebrand the early access streams we do for Magic, like that are all content creators against each other, as the Disneyland streams. That's basically what it is. Oh my god, I'm so ready for some Tarkir Disneyland. Let's build some Ugin Disney decks. Let's play some Mox Jasper Stormscale Scion Disney nonsense. I'm so ready for it.
If you think about it, Magic the Gathering actually has the highest % chance of actually going to Disneyland in their game. Like you're almost there. Like they have the.
You mean
Marvel
like a
IP.
secret layer? Oh
Yes.
Oh
No.
Oh,
I
lock
mean
it
like
in.
an
Guaranteed.
expansion, right?
It's coming.
No. They have an expansion, right? They're doing Marvel or Spider-Man or whatever, right? They're like one jump away from going to Disneyland. Like it's so close. And then you could be like, Magic the Gathering's actually going to Disneyland. And it's just funny. Okay, the jokes right there as well. Okay.
That's it's going to be, they're going to have like Planar Portal, which is a card that searches for any permanent and puts it on the battlefield at the outrageous cost of like 14 combined mana. And it's going to be called like Gateway to Disney.
And there you go. There you go.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
Hasbro, you're welcome.
Hasbro, you're welcome. I think we'll wrap that up here, and this is where you get to watch as I do cringe outro stuff. We usually just like cut it at some hard spot on YouTube, so it goes right into our next video, but we're on an audio platform sometimes, so I would like to thank you for staying till the end of the CovertGoBlue podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, and use the promo code CGBPOD at checkout on CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring the podcast show. We really appreciate it, and we love them very much. So show your support. Thank you very much. And on behalf of my friend Rarran, who you should check out on YouTube, we'll see you in the next one. You're cool.